Today we are going to learn C++ programming. So before starting the lecture, we first learn the common features between C and C++. That means if you have already done C programming, right, then what are the common features which will be available in C++ programming? So as we know that both the languages are high level languages, that means English like grammar will be there also in C++. C++ consisting of 61 keywords, 32 from C language and 31 new in C++. As we know, keywords are the words which are reserved words in C++, like we have already used in C, that is int, char, if, else, for, break, isn't it? These are the keywords. We can't change the meaning of the keywords, right? Now next feature is C++ and C both contain control statements, right? If, else, switch, right? For loops, while, for, do, while, right? If you have already done C language, you are familiar with these keywords. Then the next common feature between C and C++ is array, functions, pointers, structures, file handling are the common features between C and C++ programming. And the last one is the program written in C and in C++ both are portable. That means what? We can transfer the code from one machine to another machine. Isn't it? So these are the common features which are between C and C++. Isn't it? So there are various features, but these are the main basic features which are common between C and C++. Okay, now the question arises that why then, if the all features are present in C, then why to do C++, right? Why to do C++? Because C++ supports object-oriented programming, which include encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance, and polymorphism. These are the four concepts which were not present in your C programming language, right? Because C programming language is a procedural oriented language, right? Whereas C++ programming is a object oriented programming language. We will see all the concepts, encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance and polymorphism in our coming lectures. So keep watching. So encapsulation and data hiding, inheritance and polymorphism, these are the new characteristics which are present in C++. Okay. So we saw the common features, we saw the additional features of C++. So now when I see a screen, how I recognize it's a C program or C++ program. So when I write a C++ program, I have to mention the data type before the main function, right? And the syntax will be like this. Whenever you saw this type of function in any screen, it is a C++ programming. We put some local variable, we put some statements with the preprocessor directories. Isn't it clear? Now next question is, when I do the programming, what are the methods how we can execute our program? We have to execute, as we execute the program in C programming, in the similar manner we have to execute the program by 3 steps. First we have to create the program, then we will compile the program, and then we will execute the program. So program creation is there, program compilation is there, and program execution is there. Isn't it clear? So we make the file, we compile the file, and we take the output from the file. Now we will learn some basic characters which are present in our C++ programming. The students who have already learned C language must be familiar about these characters, right? So just go through them, and we have to use them in our programming in practicals like later. So Now, what are delimiters in C++? As the programming, there are in C as well as colon is there, semicolon is there, parenthesis is there. So these which are present in C, right, are present as well in C++. That's why I have mentioned syntactic meaning in C. That is, both are present in C as well as in C++, right? So we put brackets, so we have to say this is square bracket, curly braces, parentheses. They are for different purposes, right? Like colon is for the label, isn't it? Semicolon is for the end of the statement. Now we have already learned keywords, right? So keywords are what? Keywords are nothing but they are the reserved words, they are the fixed words. So when we talk about C language, these are the keywords, these are the 32 keywords. You can see, if a student has already learned C language, he or she must be familiar about these keywords. So there are 32 keywords from the C language, and now these 31 keywords you will learn in your C++ programming. All the keywords are used in whether it's in basic programming of C++ or in advanced programming of C++. So these are the keywords. Keywords are the fixed reserved words. We can't change the meaning. We can't change the alphabet. We can't write in a capitals. Whether it is in a small, you have to type them in a small. If these are in capitals, you have to type them in a capital. So they are the case sensitive. C++ itself is a case sensitive language, right? Now, when we talk about the data types, so there are four basic data types which are present in C++ as well, like in C programming. What are the data types? Int, char, float, and double. For integer, for single or multiple characters, for decimals, and for the more decimal points, right? Memory is given there in a table. You have to remember this table while using the programming for C++, right? There is one main thing which you have to remember, that in C programming we use format specifiers, but in C++ we don't use format specifier. We will see this in practicals. Now, what about the basic input output? There, basic input output in case of C programming was printf scanf, right? Now in C++ we have to use cin, cout, iostream.header file for this, and namespace std is for GUI editors, right? Not for Turbo C++. It is for a GUI editor like Dev C++ or advanced editors, isn't it? So cin, cout for input and output, iostream for header file for input output, and namespace is the collection of classes which are under the header file. Now when we talk about escape sequences are nothing, these are the white spaces, right? As in C language, these are the white spaces which are present both in C and C++, like /b for the backspace, /a for the bell alert, right? Generally we use in C programming /n, new line, right? This is also present in your C++, right? We can use /n for new line here. So these are the various, different white spaces which are used for programming, but they are not printable, right? They are not printable. See, black horizontal tab, vertical tab, new line, and carriage return, they are also known as a white space in C language as well as in C++. Okay, so we will do these in our practicals. Now moving to the constants. What are the constants? Because we are doing this lecture, and we are doing the lecture for the programmer, so we have to complete many more things in this lecture. So constant is a value that can't be changed during the execution of the program, isn't it? So that means whenever I initialize a variable, that is basically a constant. I'm not changing in future. So types are numeric constant, character constant, and string constant, isn't it? So these are the various types of constants you have to remember, right, in C++ as well. What are the variables then? Whenever we have to do anything in the C++ programming, we have to treat with the variables. So variables are the values which we have to store values, right? Variables can take different values, but one at a time. These values can be changed during the execution of the program, isn't it? Constants are the fixed, but the variables are the values which we can change. A data type should be associated with each variable because compiler is unaware that which type of variable you are using. So we have to mention data type there. So when we say we have to mention data type, then we should know the declaration of variable. That means how we can declare a variable. So there is a particular syntax for this particular way. If you have already done C programming, you must be aware of that how we can declare the variable. If you are not aware of how we declare the variable, you can see the previous C programming videos, or we are again doing the same thing in this lecture also. So what is declaration of variable? Declaration of variable is nothing but it is to declare with the data type. That means you have to tell compiler that how much memory my variable is using. If I take int data type, then age variable is using integer type data. That means 2 bytes are used by the age variable, right? As a programmer, I have to mention these things to the compiler before going for any program, right? When we talk about C++, there is one thing that is called as expression and statements. Expressions are what? Expressions are the combination of operators, constant, variables, and function calls. That means when we combine variables with the operators, right? When we do a calculation, there must be one operand and one must be their, operator. If you are going for any technical qualification, then you must have learned a computer organization, and there is one operand and operator. So x plus y, where xy is the operand and plus is the operator, and this is a particular operation. So this is an expression. Statement is nothing but statement is when we talk about any programming language, or when we talk about any high level language, there are many more statements. When we terminate the statements with semicolon, or when we terminate the expression with semicolon, and when we do the some works in our programming, so then there can be statements, many more statements in C programming or C++ programming. So in C++ programming, you can see on the screen there are many statements: expression statements, compound, selection, iterative, jump statements, label statements, right? So we have to do all the things in future. Don't worry about it. So expression statements are what? Expression statement, as we say, expression is a combination of what? Operand plus operator. When we terminate it with a semicolon, it's called as expression statement in C++. Isn't it clear? So this was about variables, about constants, about expressions, about statements. So these little things you must have knowledge about it, right? Now the last thing which we have to always remember, that whenever you make a program for the user or for the end user or for any person, you have to mention their comments in the program for clarity of the program, for readability of the program, right? There can be multiple line comment, there can be single line comment, isn't it? When you put slash with the star and end with the star with the slash, then it's multiple line comment, right? Comments are used for explaining the purpose of program. Whenever you do the program, you want to explain the program, what the program is, to other person who is watching your program or who is watching your project or any programming language. So you want to make a comment. Comments are not compiled by the compiler. They are just to put there for the readability of the program, to increase the clarity of the program, isn't it? So there you have to start with the double slash sign, the double slash operator or slash star, and end with the star slash. Whatever you put things into the comment will not reflect in the output. They are just for the readability. Okay, this is all about the basic knowledge of C++. Let's move on for the practicals now. So we will start a practical by doing our first program by displaying a message, right? As we already saw in our theory that we have to use a header file IO stream, then we will use one namespace, that is std. Namespace is used for, don't be confused if you have already worked in Turbo C++ and we are going for GUI editor. So don't be confused why we are using namespace here, because namespace is nothing but is a collection of the classes which are present in this namespace, and the collection of classes is present in the std, and std is under the header file, that is IO stream, right? So as we have seen concept of header file in C programming, so this is my first program. Hello, how are you? I put getch here. I have to use return statement here, and I will compile the program and see what will be the output for this program. First of all, when I compile this program, it will ask me for the saving of program. I will give the name. I will choose the directory where I have to put the program, right? So I will type the name. You can type anything. You can use extension or without extension, because the extension is there, save as a type. So if you want to put deliberately, you can put, otherwise it will take as it is CPP for the C++. Okay, now program has been saved. We will learn, see, one error is there. Why it's saying? Because getch has been used and we are not making its header file, so we have to use the header file for it. So what is the header file for getch? We already learned in C programming, that is conio.h. so we will make conio.h in our programming to clear this error. So we are typing conio.h for this. So we will run this again and we will see whether now errors are there or not, right? We will compile it. We will see whether errors are there. So this is my output window for compiling. So 0 errors are, it's showing no errors, no warnings. Now we can we have already compiled it. Now we will run the program and see. The first program of C++ is hello, how are you? As we have seen already that we have to use cout for the output statement, right? Cout, main statement is the main program starting point, then cout for the hello, how are you? Now we are typing any one more line, cout I am fine. So with the semicolon I am putting, right? Now run this program and see what will be the output. As I have typed the two lines in two different lines, but output will not be like this. Output will be hello, how are you? I am fine in the same line, right? That means what? In compiler, we have to mention every time when we have to put enter there. So as we have already learned escape sequences, we can put /n here. So we will run the program, we will see the changes, whether are changes there or not, right? So we will see output, yes, definitely. Hello, how are you? I'm fine. These are the two lines now, isn't it? So we have to use /n for the new line. In C++, there is one more thing we can use instead of /n. So we will use endl, right? This is a type of delimiter. We can use endl. So in smalls, we can put endl in next line also, right? So we have to type like this. For example, if I use endl for the next line here, I can use type like this, cout endl, right? I have concatenate in my first line, that is a shortcut method. Now I put one more message here, right? So I put the message, this is my first program, right? I put a semicolon here. Now run this program, right? So you compile and run. There are the three options, you can choose one. So this is my program. I have used /n as well as I have used endl as well as. So endl works as same as /n in C programming, right? So these are the three different lines. This is my first program for C++. Isn't it clear? That's it. So you have to keep in mind that whenever we use cout, that means what? That is a printf of your C programming, right? When we are using printf in C, we are displaying something. In the similar manner, when we are using cout in small case, They should not be in a capital case or in a mixed case. So whenever we use cout, we have to use for output. Okay, let's do another program with when we do the program with treatment with the variables, right? For example, there is a program we want to add the two numbers. So what we want? We want two numbers. We add for A and B, for example. For adding the two numbers, we can declare like this. In advanced programming, we will declare the variables in same line, right? So see, A, B, right? We are doing the same thing. So we will declare a variable C here, isn't it? So what we have to do? We have to input the two numbers. So we have to input the two numbers. Now what we will do? We will print the sum and we will display the sum for the, this is a message. Now we will say cout, then we will print the C variable, and now what we do? We will C is equals to A plus B. We have not get the operation for this, so we will, right? C is now run this program. Okay, see what is there? We have not put semicolon. Cout C. So we will put semicolon. We will run it again, and we will see the output. We will compile and run it, right? You can press F11 for shortcut as well as. So that's it. Sum is 17, isn't it? Now if we change the value here and we want another output, so for this what we have to do? What we have to do, it's again 17. So for different value, what we have to do? We have to change the value here. So we will change it and we will run it, right? And we will run it. We will see the output. The changes will reflect there, right? That means what? Every time a user has to go to the project or a program to change the value. No, it should not like this. So what we do? What we do for this? So we need one more statement that is called CN. You have remember or you have learned scanf in C programming. Scanf in C programming for what? For inputting the data from the keyboard. Now the same result is there. What we will do for this, we will not initialize the values. We will enter the values from the keyboard. We will change the values from the keyboard, right? Every time user will enter the different value and the different values will be there, right? The different values will be there. So what we do, we will enter the value for the A and B. That means for the first number, you can do in the same line for the first and second number. So we are a beginner, so that's why I am trying to do like this. Cout, enter the first number, cout, cin. So cin, we have already learned cin is for input. So for inputting the data from the keyboard, we have to use cin. These less than signs and greater than signs are, you have to remember when you are using cout. Now compile it and see what is the output, right? We put semicolon in the last line. We will compile it. So now we have not initialized the values. We have compiled the value for inputting the data through keyboard. Now the keyboard will ask me on the screen what is the number for first, then second, and the sum will be 179. This is more readable now. We can compile it again for another try. So we will enter the number, different number. We will enter the different number and we will get the results. Isn't it? This is more readable and this is more clear to the user rather than using the initialization method, right? So this is the program for summation of two numbers. This is the basic program which we have done. So for cin, you have to use scanf in C programming, which you have maybe have already learned. If you have not learned C programming, if you want to learn, we have already C programming videos there in our channel. You can watch them and you can make a revision of C language there, right? It's very easy for a C++ programmer if he or she has already learned C language, because all the 50% or you can say 60% syllabus of C++ is there present in C language. So better to go for C language first, then to the C++, isn't it? Okay, next, now what we want to do now, we are trying to input a number which is integer number, and we want to input a number which is decimal number, a character number, and a string value. That means what I want to do, I want to do a program of different data types, right? We will learn now how different data types can be entered through the keyboard, right? Now here I have mentioned char 2 times. The first char ch is for single character, the second char is for a string, that means a name, a hobby, right? That's why I have put brackets, right? As I already told you, in brackets are the delimiters for the width, for the array of collections, right? So array of characters we can say. So there are 20 characters. So now we start inputting the data through the keyboard. We are treating the 4 types of data types here, right? So we will say cin and the first variable for integers. In the similar manner, we will enter the next for the decimal, right? Now we have to use, for the decimal we have to use m, isn't it? Now what we use next for your character, alphabet. This is a data type which is used whenever we have to enter a single character. That means just like gender is there, right? Gender for male or female, mf, right? True, false, tf, right? Now enter the text, right? We have to use C in here. Then the 2 greater than signs are to use. Now the variable. Now this is the time we have already inputted the value. Now we will see what the result, whether the output will be there. There will be only the input process. When we compile and run the program, it will ask me the 4 different data types, right? Just this is the 8, then the decimal value I entered, right? Now character and the text, right? See, I enter the computer, right? Now if I enter, nothing will be there because I have not used the cout statement there. I have just input the values through the cin part, right? Cout is for just for the message, that what you are inputting through the keyboard, right? Cout is for just for the message. Now I want the what I have input, and now I want to display that output. Now what I do, I make some messages there and I again use the variables. I can concatenate both the variable and the message. So how I can concatenate? I delete the cout there and put the 2 less than signs again with the variable, right? Now I put a endl here because I have already told you endl is for the new line. It will print in the new line, right? If you don't use endl there, it will print on the same line for the all data types. So we do the same process for the other data types as well. So we will again say what? Cout, and we will print the message and we will print the variable, that is m for the decimal. So we will do the same thing for the decimal part, isn't it? So 2 less than signs are always, you have to remember, 2 less than signs should be there with the double quotes, and then we will put 2 less than signs, again the endl statement, right? In the similar manner we do for the same, and we will compile the program, we will run the program, and we will see whether our output is there or not. So enter the number, right? We enter 23, then we enter the number 5.7, then enter the number G, and then enter the text. For example, book. See, now my output is there. See, you can see the output is there, right? Now output is little bit messy because the spaces are not there. So we will put some spaces in each output. We will put some space. You can make the changes as you wish, right? You can put many more spaces. You can put different types of decoration over there for the text, right? So I'll make some spaces and then I'll run this program. Okay, see. Okay, that's done. Now we will run this program and we will again do the compilation and running program. Then we will enter the number again, we will enter the decimal number again, and we will enter the character H, and we will enter the text as computer, and we will see what is the result. Yes, what the changes I have made, it will reflect to the output as well. Isn't it clear? Right? So this is the way how we make the changes with the variables and how we treat the variables, because every data type is very important in case of your programming. Whenever you go for the advanced programming as well as for the beginning programming, the data type, variable data type, and how you format the data type is very important. You should have a sound knowledge of all the data type, which data type I have to use where. Now we will study operators in C++. That means which operators we can use in C++. Like relational operator, that is double equals to, greater than equals to, less than equals to, isn't it? These are the operators which we use whenever we make some conditions. Not equals to is the exclamation sign. Then the logical operators, when conditions are there, multiple conditions are there, then OR operator, either the condition and not operator, right? We will do these logical operators in our practical programs, right? Then there are bitwise operators. Bitwise are the operators which are related to binary digit calculations, right? This is single AND, single OR, XOR, isn't it? So left shift, right shift. These are the operators we will discuss in our programs, right? So relational operator, logical operator, and bitwise operators. So whenever we make any operation in program, right, we use these type of operators. That means for any expression we have to use these operators. There are assignment operators, like there are arithmetic operators which you will be familiar with for addition, for subtraction, for division, for multiplication, isn't it? In C++ programming there are two signs for division. One is slash, one is percent sign. So percent is for the remainder and slash is for the quotient, right? Conditional operators are there. Conditional operators are there for, replacement of if-else statement, right? If-else statement, if we replace a if-else statement with two operators, we can use conditional operators. There are some more operators, we can categorize them under the three parts. Whenever we say the operators, they can categorize under three parts. They are unary operator, they are binary operator, and ternary operator. As the name indicates, unary means we require a single operand, right, to operate, and in binary we require two operands for operating, and in ternary we require three operands, and there will be a operator and question mark in colon will be there, which is, we already learned that question mark in colon is also known as conditional operator, right? This is for a particular condition and this is the replacement for if else. So whenever we use ternary operator, we have to use a particular condition to satisfy. If the condition is true, it will execute the first part, and if the condition is false, it will execute the statement which is present after the colon. So these are the operators which are based on what? The number of operands they are using. So when we say the categories under the number of operands, so we can categorize them, right? Now the next topic is control structure. It's also known as conditional statement or decision making, right? So control structure is where we control the logic of a program, because whatever we do, there should be a particular controlling of a program. For example, if we don't want to print all the numbers, we just want to print even numbers, or if we had one number and we just want to print if the number is even, then the output should be displayed. Then in that cases we have to use these conditional statements. So these are the types of conditional statements which we can use for making decisions. If else, if nested if, switch, nested switch. So we make different programs by these different control structures: if else, if, nested if, switch, and nested switch. So if is used whenever we use a particular condition. For example, I take the example, there are two numbers and I want to check whether the two numbers are greater or not. First number is greater or second number is greater. Then I use if. So this is the syntax for if condition. If you have to use if, then you have to put the condition. If the condition is true, then the statements are executed, right? This is one type of if. When if is a keyword, you have to remember this. If is a keyword, you have to write it as it is and put the condition. If the condition is true, then first part will execute. Okay, what if there is a condition and we have to print else part also? So we will say if else. So I use two keywords, if, then the condition, and the second part is else. How it works? If the condition is true, it will execute first part, otherwise it will execute else part, right? If the case of two numbers is there. For example, if the case of three numbers is there or more than three numbers, so we want to check the largest among the 10 numbers or largest among the two numbers. So what we do? We do what? We will put a condition if, then we will put condition for else if, right? And then we will use else. There can be many number of else ifs, right? And at the last you have to put else. So when there are conditions are increasing number, then automatically else if will be increased. For example, there are three numbers, so how many conditions will be there? There will be two conditions and the else part will be there. Okay. So one thing you have to remember that, whenever conditional statement is there, we have to use if else, right? It can be in any form. Now the concept of nested if. Now if we want to replace the logical operators, we can use if inside the another if, that is the nesting of, right? Nesting is an English word, so we are nesting the one if into the another. That means we have to satisfy, for printing a particular output, the two conditions must be satisfied. It's very similar to that. The logical operator, that is AND, we will do the practicals later. So first we will clear the theory part of this, that is we will clear the concept, so that whenever we go for the practicals, it should be clear that where I have to put the condition for the outer if or for the inner if. See, if there are two conditions, for example, the number should be greater than 10 and it should be less than 50. So I can put these two conditions, first condition in the first if and second condition in the second if. Isn't it clear? So this is the nested if. Both the conditions should be satisfied for the nested if whenever you are using nested if. So what for the switch case default? Okay, if else was for the decision making, whenever we want to make some decisions on the basis of particular condition. Switch case default is used whenever we use multiple choices. When there are multiple programs in a single program and we want to execute a particular part of the program, then we use this switch case default, right? We use this type of switch case default. That means there are three keywords which we have to use. Switch is the keyword, case is the keyword, default is a keyword, right? So we will see the syntax and it will be clear for us how to use switch case default. It is used for multiple choice whenever there are multiple conditions and we have to choose a particular condition. Whenever we say, whenever we make a difference between switch case and if else, if else is used for whenever we want to make decisions, whereas switch case is used whenever we have to make a particular choice. You can take the example, for example, for you can say for range or for valid numbers, we use concept of if else in the project. And whenever there are choices like games, we are making an application for games and there are many choices for games, so we use the switch case. These are the four keywords which you have to use: switch, case, break and default. Okay, so switch, case, break and default, right? So these are the four keywords which we will use in the practicals. Switch is for the initial, then we will use case for the number of choices, right? See, now we are seeing the syntax, proper syntax onto the screen. The syntax is visible to you. You can see we have to put switch, then we have to use a choice expression, we have to use number of cases, that means number of options you want to give to the choice, because at that one time you have to choose a one particular choice. So if the choices are not available, that means if choice expression is not matching with any case, then there is a default statement. It is very similar to that. If there is no choice, then we will use the default statement, right? There is break statement we have to use with the switch. We will use definitely that in the practical part, right? Okay, clear? This is all about your switch case and default. So one thing you have to remember, that whenever there are multiple choices and you want to print a single choice from the particular set of choices, right? So then you use the case of switch. Let's move to the practicals now. Okay, what we have done, first we have done conditional statements. So we will go for conditional statements first, right? We will do the programs for conditional statements. Conditional statements was for what? These were for making the choices, making the decisions on the basis of a particular condition. Okay, we have to start with the header files, with the namespace and all the things which we have to put first. Then we will go for the actual part of the program, right? So we will use include iostream, then namespace std, then we will say int, isn't it? Int main, right? We will use the concept for this opening and closing, right? Now the actual programming we will do. So we have to take the variable n and we will print it. For example, enter the number. We want to check whether the number is even or odd. As I told you earlier that for checking this number, whether the number is even or odd, what we will do? This. So we use here what operator? Arithmetic operator, and as well as assignment operator, that is comparison operator, right? So if n% 2 double equals to 0, that is fully divided, then it is an even number, right? So this is a particular condition. If the condition is true, it will execute, right? We will put else part here for what? The number is odd. If the condition is satisfied at the first case, then it will print me what? Even number, otherwise it will print the odd number, right? That's the reason we already learned that if else is based on a particular condition. So we will just shift to it to the particular, proper indentation should be there. Now we run the program, we execute the program. You can compile the program first, you can whatever you want, then enter the number. We will put the number 8 here and we will check whether the number is even or odd. Yes, 8 is a even number, right? So now we will check this program again, right? For again we will put a number here. We will put 7, the number is odd, right? We check for the even, we check for the odd, right? So this is the logic for even and odd. If you don't want the else part, you will not put that. It will put only the if part. Then at that time when you remove the else part, when you run the program, right? See what happens. We will delete the else part and we will run the program again. If the number is even, it will execute and it will print the number is even, isn't it? See what happens. We will do with the practicals. See, we will give the number 8. It is even, so it will print, right? Number is even. We have not mentioned the else part. Now we will run it again and we will give the another number which is odd number. So in case of odd number, it will not print anything. So I am giving the 9 number. No, that's it, because I have not mentioned the else part. when I mention the else part, then and then it will print the desired output. I have not mentioned the else part, it will not print anything, right? So we are saying if the condition is true, it will execute the first part, otherwise it will execute the second part. Okay, right? So this was about the if and else part. Now if we want to change the program for if else if, that means if I want there should be a multiple conditions, then what to do? What type of program will be that to check both the conditions, for example, or multiple conditions? So we require some problem like that. If we take the case of 3 numbers, right? The screen is visible to you, right? So we are inputting the 3 numbers. So we input the 3 numbers from the keyboard. So A, B and C, right? So we have to check the 3 numbers. So what will be the logic? We will check A with the B and B with the C, or A with the B and A with the C. So both the conditions should be true. So we use here logical operators. See, we are using logical operator here. We have already learned the logical operators. They will give us true or false. If the both conditions are true, it will execute the first part, isn't it? So we are typing first number is larger or largest, whatever you want to type. Okay. So this is my if first part. No, if the first number is not larger, then what to do? Then we will put another condition here. If, then else if, as per the syntax, else if B greater than E, and we check B with the C also. So we put both the conditions should be true. We put here double and again for the logical operator. It will, it will try to evaluate it. If the condition is true, what will happen? It will execute the second part of the statement. If the condition is not satisfied for this also, then we have to write for the else part. If the condition is true, then it will go to the first part. Else if the condition is true for the second part, it will go to the second. Now if the first condition is false, if the second condition is false, we have to write the simple else part. So we write the third number is larger, isn't it? So this will be the logic for if we want to check larger number or largest number among the 3 numbers. In this way you can make many more problems, right? You make many more else ifs there. So we will enter the 3 numbers, right? We will enter 7, 6 and 5. Which number is larger? 7 is the larger. So first number is larger, isn't it? It goes to the first. Now if you run it again and we will want to check the number for second or third number. So what we will do? We will do like this: input 9 and we will go for 40, then we will go for 8. So 40. So second number is larger, isn't it? So this is the logic for, you can say, conditional statements. That is when we check. Now if the case is we don't want the logical operators, we want the nested if. Now we have already learned what is a nested if. If inside the another if. So we put those 2 conditions, one if and then another if. So we will check the program again and we will run the program again with this logic as well. So we will run it and we will see whether this is working or not, right? We run the program, we execute the program, and when we execute the program, we will see the output will be as like the when we are using logical operators, right? So we will run the program with build and compile, or you can step by step move. So we will compile it, right? And we will run it now. It will give me the output like this. So for example, if I again take the input as 9 and see, it's giving me the results again. So I will compile it again and see, check the results for this. Enter the 3 numbers, right? It will display me the output like this. Okay, see what happens. So this is the concept of nested if. So first we studied if, then we studied nested if. Isn't it clear? Let's take another example for nested if, right? To clear the concept, right? We will take a number and we will check the number whether the number is valid or not by making the nested if statements, right? So we will put if here, and we will check the condition with divisible by 2 or not, and we will put another condition inside the if. For example, if the number is less than 10 or not. So we will put another if here, right? Okay, so we will say if both the conditions are true, you should print what? The number is valid, right? We will say valid, right? And if we run this program, we will put semicolon, and now this is the logic for, what we want to check, whether the number we have, giving two conditions there, and we will put get ch here with a semicolon, and we have to close it. Now if we run this program, if we take the case of a number which is divisible by 2 and less than 10, so it will print me valid number. If I take the case, for example, if the number is here 8, it is a valid number, right? If I execute once more, and if I want to check whether my nested if is working properly or not, I execute it again, and I give the number. For example, for a change, the number should not be valid. So I give the number, for example, 40. So 40 is not less than, but it is divisible by. Both the conditions, when we put if inside another if, that is nested, that is double AND, that is logical operator. So both the conditions should be true, right? If I use 8, it's a valid number, right? If I say again, if I say 40, it was not printing. That means one condition was true. For nested if, both the conditions should be true. Outer if and inner if, both the conditions should be true. Clear? So this is the concept of your nested if. You can do many more programs of nested if. Now, the next concept which we have to learn the concept of, switches. How we can use the concept of switch. So for this, we will make a small menu for addition, subtraction, division and multiplication. We make a small menu. For example, if we want, what the problem is, we want if the choice 1 is there, the program should return me the addition of two numbers. If I press 2 from the keyboard, it should return me the subtraction. In the similar manner for the multiplication, for the division, and if I choose other than the key, not 1, 2, 3 or 4, it should print me like wrong choice. So I will first I have to make a menu like this for the clear. It's not necessary to use these. I have used for my readability. It's not concerned with the switch that you have to use these cout statements. These cout statements are used for what? For readability of the program, that user should always read the program, that what I have to do with this project or program, right? So I will use the last line, wrong choice, if not find. So this is my menu, and according to the menu I have to design the program. So for this, what I have to do, I need what type of variable? I need integer type of variables. For addition of two numbers, I require what? I require two variables, and for choice, I require one variable, right? So we will make the changes here, right? So we will start with what? We will start with switch. We have put enter here for what? For the new line, right? So we will start with using enter the two numbers, right? Two numbers we have to add, two numbers we have to subtract, these two numbers, because we have to choose a single choice from the multiple. So in this way, I enter the number as we have done in earlier programs. So we take another variable, that is ch for choice. We make a switch now. We have to use a keyword switch, switch. So it's a keyword, so we have to use like this. So we will use switch, right? And we will open it, and we will start with the case. Case 1 is there. So we will write the first case. First case is for what? Addition. So we will write A plus B with the semicolon, right? Now we have to use what? we have used C variable, so we have to initialize the C variable is equals to 0, semicolon, that's it. This is the variable declaration. It's better to declare the variable you are using. Don't declare the first all the variables A, B, C, D, E, F, and you are not using that variable. Whenever you use the variable, you declare it variable, right? This is the best choice for the programmers. So we will use the cout statement here for displaying the output. What we have to print? We have to print sum is, and we will take the variable sum is stored in the which variable? C. You can directly print A plus B, but I am choosing the third variable. I am choosing the third variable C here. So I will concatenate the third variable, that is the C variable, with the sum statement, right? So that's the way I will print the sum here, right? And after using this, I have to use a break statement, right? I'll use the double less than sign with the C variable. Okay, now I have put the break statement here. See, I have already told you there are 4 keywords. So break is for what? Why did I put the break? Break is for separating the first section with the second section, because we have to choose a single choice one time, right? That's the reason I put break here, isn't it clear? So this is my program which I type here. Okay, so you can type the whole program like this, and you put every time you have to put break to separate the first section to the second in this way. And the last one is the default statement which you have to print if the case is not matching with the ch variable. My variable for the choice is ch variable. So if I enter 1 from the keyboard, the 1 will be matched with the 1, then addition will be print. So if I enter 10, 10 is not matched with any case, so it will print me the wrong choice. So this is the switch programming. You can do multiple programs with the break statement and all other things. You can do yourself multiple programs. This is the basic concept which I have to deliver you. Right now, run this program and see the output is. Whether our output is like that, what we want, right? We will check it and we will run it. See how beautiful is this. So it's the menu, like you are going for a restaurant and you see the menu. There are, for a game you see the menu. So there's a particular menu and it's asking me the particular choice. So I'll run for any other choice also. I will see this is the main whole program, and I'll run the program and I'll see the output, whether the output is there the same for what I want. If I enter the choice and enter the number 5 and 6 and enter the choice for example, I take the choice 3. So 3 is for the multiplication. So multiplication is 30, but it's showing like messy multiplication. So I put the spaces over there where I have put output statement. So I put the spaces everywhere so that my output should be clean and readable, right? So this is up to you. You put a star sign, you put a space, you put anything. You can put for decorative part, you can decorate your program by any other literal, right? So run it. Now the program is more visible. So enter the 2 numbers, then we enter the choice for 2. It is a subtraction, so 9 minus 6 is 3, so subtraction is 3. So it is okay, my program is working. That is what I'm making a single choice one time, right? I have written 4 programs, basically small 4 programs. Now I will replace the break. What happens then? Why I put break here? So I am saying break is used for disconnecting from the rest part. If I don't use break, what will happen? See, if I use the concept and I run the program, see, without the break, if I use one number is there, 9 is there, and if I use the choice here, for example, I take the choice as 1, addition should be there, it will again jump to the subtraction because there is no break. That's why it jumped to the second case also. If I use the break, it will not jump. If I use the break, it will not. I'm again repeating, break is a keyword which is used for taking the control from the innermost loop, or the, you can say, switch. Looping we have to use in practicals, but this is the case of switch, right? We put the break, and again we will see the output is again disconnected from the rest of the cases. So it clearly shows us that switch is a keyword which is used for whenever we want a single choice, from the multiple statements. Isn't it clear? So this is the concept which you have to You have to learn. So which is very useful in high end applications where you have to make games, make games, right? Okay, now the very good concept, and the concept which is used everywhere, whether in advanced programming, whether in small programming, that's the concept of loops. As in the screen it's visible, loops is nothing but it is used to execute the part repeatedly. The learners who have already learned C language, they can easily learn from this. Loop is a concept which is used for repeating a particular task. For example, I have to print hello how are you 10 times. One way is to get what output. With the 10 cout statements, I will use 10 cout statements, which is not preferable, isn't it? So we will use a second method, that is the concept of loops. Whenever we want to repeat something in our programming, loop or iteration, somewhere it is written as iteration, so don't be confused that what is iteration. Iteration is similar to the loops, you can say second name given to the loops. So using loops, what we will do, we will not repeat the cout statement. We will take one cout statement and we will put one cout statement inside the loop, and loop will automatically work. Like if there is a washing machine at your home, you can see the example of loop there. You put a timer there and automatically the machine or any other appliances which is working on the loop will work, isn't it? With the help of loop, we can execute a part of statement many number of times, how many number of times you want to execute. One more thing, any loop should have initial statement, final statement, and increment, isn't it clear? When we talk about C++, there are three types of loops. That means do while loop, that's also called as exit control loop, while loop, that's also called as entry control loop, and the third is called as for loop, isn't it? If you have done C language, it will be clear to you. If you have not done C language, it's okay. We are doing practicals also for this. So do while loop is what it is called as exit loop. Whenever we, as I told you earlier, that every loop must have initial statement, final statement, and increment or decrement or any other type of statement. So we can say we have to put initial statement at the starting, then we have to go with do, then we will increment, decrement statement, and at the end we have to use the condition. As we say, loop will execute till the condition is true. That is the case of while also. We have to put the condition. If the condition is true, it will execute. That is the case of for loop. But for loop is very fastest loop, because every three type of statements are we putting in the same line, in a single line. That's why the for loop is very popular in those days, right? For loop is why, because initialization is there, test condition is there, increment or decrement is there. The part of statement which you want to repeat have to put inside the for loop. Okay, now there's something about nested loops. Nested loops are the loops, right? We will go the practical part also, but we will cover the basic concept of these. First we saw the loops, now we are seeing nested loops. As we saw nested if, that means what? If inside a if. In the similar manner, we are saying when we write a code and we put a loop inside the loop, that is called as nested. That's it. So screen is visible to you. You can see on the screen what I am typing. When a loop is written inside the body of another loop, then it's also known as nesting of loop. You can nest three types of loops inside. You can nest a for loop inside do while, you can nest a do while inside for, you can nest while inside while, you can nest for inside for. So there is no limitation there. There should be a outer loop, there should be a inner loop. So how this work? One outer loop is there, some set of statement is there, then inner loop is there, then some subset of statement, as we already learn in if, nested if. So in the similar manner, but the syntax will be like, if there is a case of for loop, you have to print all the three in a single line, right? If there is a case of while loop, you have to use like this, the condition, then first the initial, then the increment, like this. You have to learn the syntax first, then you can go for the nested loop. So nested loop is a loop which we execute when we want the data in rows and columns. That's it. Whenever we want the data vertically as well as horizontally, whenever we want the data, whenever we want to output in rows and columns, we use the concept of nested loop. Isn't it clear? So what happens when we talk about nested for loop or any other loop, it looks like this. When the for loop is outer loop is there, if the condition is true, then it will go to the next for loop. If the condition is true for second loop, it will execute, right? When the condition for inner loop is false, remember this, then and then it will again go to the first for loop. That means first for is for row and second for the columns, right? We will do the practical part of that is that when we use this nested for or nested loops, right? There are some particular problems where we have to use this nested. You can't use everywhere nested. Whenever there are a particular problem, we have to use this nested loops, whether it's with the nested while, whether it is the nested do while. Well, nested while and do while are some it's little bit complicated, but for is very clear because all the conditions, all the initial values or increment are on the same single line, isn't it? One thing you have to remember always, when a condition is false for outer loop, it will terminate and display the output. Till that, inner loop will reset every time. Outer loop will get the value, then it goes to the inner value and then it will reset again. For example, when to use the nested loops, when we want to output on the screen like this, okay, like this, the triangle, star of triangles, your triangle for the star and or triangle for the numbers or pyramids like these. You have seen outputs like this in C programming as well. So like we want to print output like this, right? So what happens here? Here the concept is for the first row 1 data is there, for the second row 2, for the third 3, for the fourth row. So every time column is depend on the row. For this we have to design a logic for the nested loop that inner loop depends on the outer loop, right? Inner loop depends on the outer loop. So you have to remember one thing about the nested loops. When we say a nested loop, so we have to remember always one thing, that we require 2 loops here, one for the row and one for the column. Always remember this. Outer loop will execute till the condition is true and inner loop will reset every time after getting the false condition. This line should be clear in your mind, crystal clear. That means what? Outer loop will execute till the condition is true and inner loop will always reset the value. And that's why we have to use 2 variables here, I and j. Generally we use 1 variable for 1 loop. Here we have to use 2 loops, so we will use 2 variables, one for the outer and one for the inner. Isn't it clear? So this is the theoretical part of all loops. Then your nested loops. There is do while and while programming we have to do. We will do the other things in practical as well as. So first we will go with this. For example, we have to make the triangle of stars. What actual programming will be there in the practical? It will be like this. When I is 1, j will execute inner loop 1 time, isn't it? For the triangle of stars, we have seen this. I is 2, j will execute the inner loop 2 times, isn't it? So j 1 and 2 means 2 stars are printing there. When the third time I will change the value with the increment, right? J will execute how many times? 3 times, because j value is depends on the I. We will do the same in practical as well, right? So just clear the concept. First we have to clear the concept, then just we have typed the program in the editor. So editor does nothing. You have to do the all calculation in your mind, isn't it? make it clear that you have to make all calculation in your mind, then how the program works. We just check the program in the compiler to see whether our brain is working properly or not. Compiler does nothing for you. It's just checking what you have done. It will compile the program. Everything you have to done with your brain, right? So this is clear. This is clear. So when I is 1, then j is 1. In this way, all the programming of triangle of stars there. There are many more programs you can do with the help of nested loops over there, isn't it? So now we will go for the practicals and we will see what happens when we use actually, whether the concept of loops and nested loops is different in practicals or is the same in practicals when we are doing these practicals. Okay, one more thing which you have to remember is, whatever you do, first clear the basic concept first. You have to clear the basic concept, then you can shift to the practicals. Otherwise, all the things will be in confusion while doing the practicals. Okay, so we will do the practical by starting the same thing, iostream, conio.h, in namespace std, right? Then we have to go with the practical for first. What we learn first? We learn the loops. So we want to display a message, for example, 10 times, 20 times, whatever you want. So we put a do while here. First loop what we study, do while. So we put a do while here, we put do while here, and we put a message. So we say do, opening and closing. As you know, we have to put initial value I is equals to 1 for the initial value, because I already told you that loops contain 3 types of statements. One is initial, final and increment or decrement. See, we will do step by step. We will do while I less than what equals to what I want to do. How many times I want to do? I want to do 10 times and then terminate with the semicolon. For example, if I run this program as it is without any increment or decrement statement, what happens? We will run this program and we will see what happens to the program, right? In this manner, you have to do your practicals. Don't go for any, as it is, type the program as it is, this is mentioned in the books. Go for the, different types of experimentation. What happens if we do this, or what happens if we do this? So I'm just compiling building like this. See what happens. If I don't use any increment statement for it, it will run the program, but it will run the program infinitely, right? See, you can see the scroll bar to the right. It's infinitely moving. How are you? Why? What happened? Because I have initialized a variable I and I have put a value 1 and I have put the condition I is less than equals to 10. So 1 will be always less than 10, right? 1 will be always less than 10. So that's the reason it is printing it infinitely. Now we have type I is equals to I plus 1. You can put I plus plus as well, isn't it? I plus plus is the replacement of I is equals to I plus 1. Now when I run this program, now my 1 initial value reaches to the 10. That's the reason the output will be 10 times hello, how are you, isn't it? So this is the concept of loops. I need not to use the cout statement 10 times. I use one single cout statement. I put this one cout statement inside the loop. What happens? It will check and it will execute. Now if we use the case of while as well, as what we have to do, we have to put the same condition here. We will delete at the end because it is an entry loop. Entry loop means the condition is at the beginning, right? So condition is at the beginning. We have to check the program. We will run it, okay, and see what will be the output. Output will be similar to the do while, right? Isn't it? So this is the do while and while. So one thing is there, what do while and while. Do while is what? Exit, and while is what? Entry. That means condition is at the entry. Now we will change this program to for. So all the conditions, all the initial, all the final, all the increment. So all these three have to put in a single line. So we need not to initialize the value here, right? We need not to use the increment statement here, right? So we will run the program by deleting all these things. We just put the output statement here. All the things are put inside the for. So we will compile it. We will see same result will be there, right? But this program is very clear than as compared to do while or as compared to while, because single statement contains all the things. I have not traversed from one initial to final to check the results. It is all in one statement. So I initialize at 1 less than equals to 10, then I increment. Every time it's initialize, first time it initializes, then it checks the condition, prints the output, again increments, it checks the condition, display the output, again increment. In this manner the loop will work. So as the name indicates, loop is the repetition of the output whatever we put inside the loop till the condition is true. When I becomes 11, it will not print because I have mentioned less than equals to 10. So it will print till the 10. No. Now we want to discuss some basic thing. What is the difference between the do while and while? The difference is what? If I take the condition like this, the wrong condition, that is I is greater than equals to 10. I is not greater than because I is 1. So condition is false. It will print me at least once. It will print me at least once. But if we take the case of while now, while is a entry loop. So condition is at the entry point. So whenever condition is false there, it will not print anything because it is an entry loop. So condition is at the entry, it will not go inside the loop, right? So if the condition is false, while will not execute anything. See, the black screen is there, output screen has nothing to output, right? So we can say and we can make the difference. So do while will print at least once and while will not print if the condition is false. Clear? So this is all about loops, the basic idea about loop. You can do many more programs related to loops, right? So we have to concentrate this lecture on other topic also. So we will wind this loop in this way. You can do many more problems, and if there is any problem related to loops, you can let me know. Okay. So now if we say loop is a repetition of output, now if we want the output like we have learned earlier, the triangle of stars. So what to do? Whether a single loop will work or not? No, single loop will not work. So what we have to do? We have to do something. We have to initialize two variables now, I and j, for one for the row and one for the columns. So how many number of rows you want, you can put that number of rows in the condition. So I initialize the I variable for the row, that how many number of rows are there. For example, the number of rows are 5 and the columns are there. I initialize the column by the j is equals to 1 as we are doing the question related to stars. If I do like this, for example, before doing the star, I use j less than equals to 5 and j plus plus, right? And I print away output star here, right? I use a star sign and I simply want this output. Whether it will be the output in a triangle. See, just go through this. You will compile it. It will not. See, why it will not? Why it will not? There's a problem. We will just delete it. Now run it and we will compile it and see. The output will be of stars, but it will not like this. See what happens, because it will print 5 times 1 j and then again 5 means 25 times, isn't it? But my output should not like this. My output should in a triangle. So what I have to do? For example, if I take the case here, j is equals to 1, j is less than 5. So it is executing how many times? It is executing, if for I is 1, j will execute 5 times. So j is execute 5 times. Again, if I is 2, j will again execute 5 times. So that's the reason. If I put slash in here, see what happens. It will give me the desired result? No, it will not give. It will give me the 2, like this. So 5, 5, 5, 5. Every time the slash n is there? No. Now I want half triangle, half square. That is a triangle of stars. So what I have to do? That means I have to make some little changes again. What I will do? I will make inner for loop some changes. That means I will do j condition depends on the I. If the I is row 1, it should print 1 time. If I is 2, it will print 2 times, isn't it? That means this j condition should depend upon the I variable, right? Now my output will be like what I want. I want the triangle of stars, which we have already learned in our basics. So we will do this and we will compile this. We have put the space after the star. We have put slash n because after one, loop, it should turn to the new line. So, for example, see what happens. Wow, the star is there, isn't it? So, in this way, you can do many more patterns like reverse star, reverse printing. In this way, you can do many more patterns. But the basic concept is this. You have to do the nested loop concepts. Isn't it clear? Now, what if we want the digits? What if we want the digits instead of star? So what changes we have to do? What changes we have to do? See, what we will do? We will do one thing. We will delete the star from here and we will make some changes. We will take a variable from I and j, whatever you want to take. You take j. If I take j, it will print what? 1, then 1, 2, then 1, 2. Because j is again resetting every time and taking the value from, condition from I, isn't it? Starting from 1. So what will be the output? See, output will be like the star was a triangle, star, star, star. In this manner, the output will be 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. And we will put space here and we can see the output will be now more visible and more clear to us, right? Now the output should be more clear because spaces will be there. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, isn't it? If we print I variable instead of j, it will print 1, then 1, 1, then 2, 2, 2, 3, like this. Many more patterns are there. You change the value, you make some changes with the nested. But you have to remember one thing. Nested if is based on the particular condition inside the loop and outside the loop, right? Inside the one loop is what? Every time you have to remember this. One inside, one the outer side condition. Every time you have to remember outer condition is there. If the outer condition is false, automatically the loop will terminate. If the inner condition is false, it will terminate to the outer. Then it will take another value, then again it will reset the value, again loop will execute. So if this is my case, if I is 1, it will execute till 1. If I is 2, j will execute 1 and 2 because less than equals to I is there, isn't it? So that's it for nested loops. Hope all the doubts are cleared, right? So that's it for today. Have a nice day.